Alright, welcome back everybody. In this video we are going to try to go through the rest of the landing page here. I'm going to make some adjustments to the layout so we get that background color in there. I'm going to add a little circle. Not sure if I'll bring in an image yet, but we can just code up the circle that would wrap it. We're going to take out these email address input so you can sign up to a newsletter. Probably not going to get into actually wiring up the newsletter, but we could make the components. And then we have these articles right here. We could try to do the work as well. I'm not super excited to go and find icons for these companies right here. We could download it from the page, but that might be a better exercise for the reader. I guess the viewer in this case. Alright, so let's get into it. So to start, I've got some text right here. Let's add the circle. So to do this, I'm going to just make a div inside of this other div with the padding X. And I'm going to give it a class of, let's start by giving it height and width. So I'm going to go H16 and width 16 or W16. You'll see with my autocomplete here, it lets us know how much in rems and pixels that is. So this should give us a circle, but the circle won't have a color that's very interesting to us, so I'm going to add a background color as well. And to do this, the class is going to be bg-the color, so I'm going to use zinc for that, and then some number for the opacity of it, or I guess the saturation. Alright, so we don't have a circle, we have a square. But we can make this a circle by adding another class called rounded full. Okay. Now let's give it some margin bottom so that it's got some distance from the text. I'm going to go margin bottom MB8. And let's also give it some margin from the top. And for that, I will go MT16. Alright, so where are we now? We now have... Well, it's starting to look a lot more like it is on here. It looks like we could probably add a bit more margin between the text and the icons there. So I'm going to adjust those to MB8. MB8. Okay, we're getting somewhere. And now let's adjust the layout so we can get that background and this white card on top of it. Makes it look more like a page. So I'm going to go into the layout file for this one, and for the background, I'm going to put that onto the body so it applies to every page, the whole body element. And for that, I'll go BG Zinc 50. So just a very light gray color. It's kind of hard to see if that even applied. Okay, it did apply. I'm just kind of blind. Let's go BG Zinc 50. Okay, and also inside this layout, I'm going to put that white card background on top of it. For this, I'll go class BG white. And I want it to be full height and full width. Okay, so I'm going to add some padding onto this. Let's go padding horizontal PX8. Is that what I want? Okay, so I'm going to put some padding on the background, so px 16. And I want to make this border a little more pronounced. So for that, I'm going to try to put in a shadow. So I'm going to look up how to put in a shadow. So box shadow, and I guess it's just shadow SM. Let's see how that looks. It's a little bit more of a shadow than I want. Let's go XS. That seems a little better. Okay, so now I don't want to have this space up here. So what can we do about that? So I'm going to put in a height for the body. I'm going to go H full. Then I'm also going to add flex to it. So now it actually fills in the space up here. So now the page in the background is going to expand as far as our content will take it. So H full won't just magically make it take up the whole screen. For that, we need to put in more content. So that'll do for us. I'm going to put in some more margin below the icons here. Let's go MB16. So now we got some space to work with. And why don't we move on to another component here? I'm going to skip the images for now because I don't really want to fill in any images yet. But we can put in some articles, or we can put in this email newsletter. So I'm going to go with the newsletter for right now. And to do this, I'm just going to put it directly in the landing page, so you can make it as a separate component if you'd like. So let's start with a div. Let's give it the text content first. Say span stay up to date, and then for the text, get notified when I publish something new, and unsubscribe at any time. Cool. And then we'll put an input right there for the email address. I'm not going to worry about handling the input just yet. Then a button that says join on it. Okay, and for the div that wraps all that, I'm going to give it flex. I'm going to give it flex column so that it arranges these items in a column. So the first child of the flex column will be this row with the email icon and the stay up to date. Just to make sure I remember that email icon. How about I do this? I'm going to make a fake component right there. It's probably going to throw an error, but I'm going to import this pretty shortly. And then, so now we got 3 children for this, arranged in a row like that. Just to make sure that the input and the button line up. Put them like this. Another flex container. All right, and now, yes, there's a reference error. What I'm going to do to get the icons is I'm going to bring in another package called Lucide. So let's see how we can get started with this. So installation. And if I scroll down to Astro on here, I can go npm install lucide/astro. So I'm going to open up a little terminal inside of my code editor just so I can run this. And then, so I've installed that. Now I'm going to bring in this mail icon. And how do I use that? I guess it's just mail. And let's add the import from lucide/astro. Did that do it? Doesn't look like it did. Alright, importing in my code editor is not working, so I'm going to have to do it manually. Like that. And this might be a named export. Okay, does the page work again? It does. So I just threw up a bunch of code on here, and obviously it's not styled super well just yet, but we can fix this. Let's get the mail icon and the span in a row first. So to do that, I'll just go give it a class flex. So now those are lined up. There's an unstyled input right here. That's rough, but it is what it is. Let's add some padding between the border and the content. So I'm going to go P4. That might be too little. Oh, can't even see the border, so let's add a border. Border zinc 200. Might be able to go padding 8. Okay, that might be a little too much. Let's go padding 6. Cool. And then I'm going to round out these borders. I'm going to rounded medium. Let's see how that looks. Rounded large. Rounded extra large. Maybe 2 extra large. That looks a lot better. Okay. I'm gonna add the same classes from my P class onto the text here. So text zinc 600 and text large. I'm going to take out that margin just for now. Looks like I can probably reduce the font size. I'm going to add some margin right of the mail. Actually, you know what? I can use flex gap for this. So let's go gap 4. Cool. Let's make this span bold. So I'm going to go class font bold. Cool. And let's see what else. Let's give some margin to each of these. MB4. MB4. I'll put it on that one as well. MB4. For the button, I'm going to go class, background, black, text white. Looks like I'll need some padding on that as well. Go P2. I'll go rounded, large. The styles do look out of whack, but we're getting an approximation of what this should look like. So for the input, I got border zinc 200, rounded large, P2. All right, that's not looking too bad. Placeholder, email address. Okay. Let's also add a box shadow to this. Whoops. Don't want to save that yet. Shadow SM. That might be too small. Let's go shadow excess. Make the shadow a little less intense. And let's just add some gap between those two elements. So I'll go gap 4 again. All right. I'm liking how this is turning out. Font doesn't look perfectly correct yet, but small adjustments at a time. Looks like there's a little too much padding top and bottom. Did I add? I added margin to the bottom of this one. The input in the button. Probably don't want that. That's the difference. Yeah, okay. So now we have an email sign up component. It looks kind of weird because it's taking up the full width right here, but we're going to want to put articles just to the left of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another column for this. So I'll make a div, empty div at first up here. And I'm going to move this one into it. Make yet another empty div. Give it a class of flex. This one will also be flex. I'm just going to put some content in here that says articles. I think flex grow will make both of these grow and take up equal space. Well, this one's going to grow to how much space it takes up. Let's actually use grid on this. So I'm going to go grid. I'm going to go grid columns 2, gap of, well, it says gap of 8 on here. That might work. Get rid of those flex grows for now. Okay, so now I have 2 columns. I kind of want to see how big this element is on the left for articles. Sometimes it's good to just put borders around things so you can see how much space they're taking up without having to open up your dev tools. Okay, so that approximately looks correct. Alright, so now why don't we start making the article components, and then we'll put some dummy data in them to make it look like they can be clicked on. Once we have some fake articles, we'll be able to also wire up the navigation and create the other page. But let's just focus on the articles on the landing page for now. I'm going to keep the borders in there, but I'm going to remove where it says articles. For each of these components, we're going to have a date on it. For example, September 5th, 2022. It's going to have a title. It's going to have an excerpt and then a read article button on it with a little caret. So let's put the text content in first. I guess I'll call that an H2. That doesn't matter too much in this case. Creating a design system for a multi-planetary future. I'm going to copy this code or this text because I don't want to write all of it. Oh geez, it's not letting me copy it. So I'll click into it and then copy it. Would that be a button? That will be a link, and it will just say read article. And then there will be a button next to it, and that button will serve as the caret. Actually, that doesn't need to be a button, that can be an image tag. Well, actually this is a great opportunity to use Lucide. The chevron right, let's copy the JSX for that. I'll add it to the import up here. Huh. Alright, great. Now we just need to make sure this lines up properly. Let's go class of flex. Alright, great. And everything's already arranged itself as a column, but I'm gonna put flex and flex column on it anyways, and I'm gonna gap 4 just so I have everything spaced out nicely. Why did the gap not? Oh, I'm missing a space. Great. Alright, so now I want to make this text bold. For this muted text, I'm going to once again call it zinc. So class is text zinc. I don't know, 200? 200 is probably too small. 500? 400. That's a little better. And it's got this little line right here. I'm going to just pretend that that's a border left. Border L. Border zinc 200. And I'm going to put some padding on the left so that way it pushes the text a little bit to the right. So I'll go PL 4. Great. And let me get rid of this border around the whole articles list because I don't need that anymore. Okay, it's a little bit bigger than I'd like. Let's reduce the size of the text. So I'll go text base. Text SM. Is that all? So text base. Okay, that looks more like it. And for that border L, I'm going to go border L2. Just a little bit thicker. So this is starting to come together. Kind of liking it. The read article should also be this zinc color. So go text zinc 400. I'll make this one 500 because it looks a little bit more pronounced. And the chevron is a little bit bigger than it should be. Let's see if I can just go height 20. The height does affect it. 20 is certainly too big. I want to center this, but this is flex row, and I need to center it vertically. So for that, I'll add the class items center. Okay. And the heights for the chevrons, make that 20. It's a little bit better. I'll make it 16. Alright, that looks good to me. Alright, now the text, that body text, I want that to be a little lighter. Okay, let's try to replicate this on hover effect. So it's, when we hover over it, it's got a background color of the zinc 50 that there is. So let's try to replicate that. Okay, to do that, I'm going to go background color or background zinc 50. Oops. It looks like I might have just broke something. There we go. Yeah, background zinc 50, and then opacity 0. I want that to apply to just the background. Opacity is not really what I want here. Instead, what I'll do is I'm going to add this hover with a colon right before the BG zinc 50, and then this will give me my on hover effect. Okay. And with that, now I need to add some padding around the article itself. Maybe P8. Okay, and then let's make that rounded. I think I might have had that styled earlier, but I took it off. Rounded large. Let's go rounded extra large, actually. Sure. While I'm at it, I'm going to change this div to an article div. Because semantically speaking, this is an article that we're referring to. And I'm also going to make another wrapping div for the articles. And then I'm going to copy the article and paste another one there just so we have a couple to look at. I'm going to put a wrapping div around the mail component as well. And the reason for that is I don't want it to stretch across the screen with the articles. So it's starting to look pretty good. I want to change the content of this second one though, just so we have something that looks a little bit different. So I'm going to copy this. And in the second article, I'm going to paste it the new P text. And I'm also going to take the H2. Alright, so it's looking not bad. Below the grid, I'm going to add some margin. So that way we can scroll to the bottom of it. So I'll go MB32, something pretty large. Okay, so now we have some space to work with. Okay, what else do I want to do here? We practically have a landing page already, but we can still add a footer. And the footer will probably just have this copyright on it until we add the navigation. So let's add that to... this is probably more something that belongs in the layout. So I'm going to put this in the layout. Let's go div, and then let's just copy in this copyright information. Copy the copyright. I hope I can do that. And let's put that in a span. And then let's make this navigation over here. Let's actually put a navigation element. I'm going to put it in an unordered list. And I'll just put in about projects, articles, about articles, projects. That seems reasonable to me. Let's make that a flex container. Everything's kind of squished against the bottom there. So let's also add MB8. Actually, let's go with MY16. So that way I get margin top and bottom on those. Okay. Now let's get them spaced apart. So I'm going to go justify between, which applies the justify content of space between. Great. And now let's line up the elements of the nav by going flex, and then I'm going to go gap of 8. Cool. And turn those into links a little bit later. Sure. And then text, for the copyright text, go text zinc 500. Looks like more like 400 or 300. It's a little bit more like it. So this is going to need a border on top of it. So I'm going to put border top, border zinc 200. So the border on top is definitely there, but the padding from this element up here is affecting it. I might just decide that I don't care about that. Why is this border... It feels like my margin's not being respected right there. That's what it looks like. I'm going to open up the dev tools just so I can see what's going on with that. I guess I'll do padding Y. That might be a little bit better. Because the margin acts on the other side of the border. Whereas I want that space to be on the inside of the border. Okay, the only thing I really wanted to do, well, it needs more space on the left and right, but beyond that, I want that border to go all the way across. So to make that border go all the way across like we see in the template, maybe I can move this padding outside of this background white and into the wrapper of the slot. Okay, that gets our border across. But we still have some extra space that we have to deal with. So where that padding X used to be, I'm going to put it in here, into the footer itself. Looks like I can use a little less padding Y, so I'll reduce that to 12, and I'll make the padding X also 12. Let's make that border 50. Oh, 50 is too small. Make that 100. Nice. I'm feeling good about this right now. The styles are coming together. Still have to wire up the navigation right here. We still have to make the top bar, so we got a lot done in this video, so why don't we take a break and then wait for the next one. In the next video we'll cover writing the article page. It might cover the top bar so we can link between pages, and I'll see you then.